Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Stocks are coming under a fair bit of pressure today, some of which has to do with a little bit of uncertainty around the China-US trade deal and whether or not Trump is going to give a 90-day extension to continue negotiations. On the other side, 10-year Treasury yields are falling almost 10 basis points today. The VIX is up about 3%. Small caps are underperforming, which doesn't make sense in that dichotomy. And we have the Fed meeting tomorrow. That's going to be absolutely critical. Here in this video, I will share with you all of your major news developments on the day today for the stock market that is affecting your portfolio and what you need to be on the lookout for coming tomorrow with the Fed. Ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Secondly, if you want to come invest in these small cap AI stocks before Wall Street discovers them alongside us, check out that link down below in the description of this video. This is by far the best trading community in the entire world. We were basically first to everything. IONQ, the quantum computing wave, we were first to that. I bought IONQ at $7. Data centers, yeah, I bought Applied Digital at $3. Today it's $10. Novartis Semiconductors, bought that in the $2-3 range. Today it's $9. Okay. HIMS, Robinhood, Palantir, bought the IPOs of all of them. Check out that link down below in the description of this video. Keep in mind, do not be a jackass. I could be wrong. My picks could go to zero. There's always a risk of unexpected things happening. Keep that in mind, but check it out if you would like to. And on to today's episode. Today, we did have JOLTS job openings that came in at 7.437 million. Last month, it was 7.712 million. Okay, so it was revised down about 50,000 from last month's 7.769 million. So revised down a little bit. And the estimate for this morning's JOLTS job openings was 7.55 million. So you came in over 100,000 lower than expected. This was one of the risks that I warned of. It's not a great sign to see job openings slowing down, because what do companies do before they fire people? They stop hiring people. And while this is not the end of the world, because we're still at very healthy numbers, 7.5 million job openings that are still out there, it is starting to weaken. A little bit of a red flag for the labor market, but not too big of a deal. Now, the goods trades balance today, advanced numbers for June, came in at negative 85.99 billion. That means less of a trade deficit. So what does that mean for GDP? Well, GDP was actually revised up today from 2.4% yesterday to 2.9% today. What's fascinating about that is the Fed is tomorrow, but you also get GDP numbers for this week. The GDP growth rate quarter over quarter advanced data for Q2 comes out tomorrow. And this goods trades balance today is definitely going to raise some of the expectations, right? Raise, how this number could come in, right? Because the goods trades balance today was for June, okay? So still like Q2, right? So it makes it a little interesting. And we have a lot of other data coming out this week, in which we'll talk about a little bit more in the next video. We've already discussed that quite a bit on this channel. But really one of the big catalysts is going to be the Fed. And that's probably why small caps are under pressure. Was better than expected, GDP revisions today. A labor market that's doing okay, but showing a little bit of a red flag with the JOLTS job openings, and then just getting ready for some of the curveballs that we could see with the Fed tomorrow. Now, Trump says today, I would like to attend the G20, but I may not. Trump says the oil prices are currently pretty low. And Trump on Russian oil says, I don't worry about it. But oil did spike today. WTI hit $68 a barrel as Trump reiterates a 10-day deadline for Russia. U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent says that China talks are getting more engaged. Bessent says the U.S. economy is starting to fire on all cylinders now. Donald Trump says that India may pay tariffs of 20 to 25%. U.S. Trade Representative Greer says Trump has discretion to modify countries' tariff levels. Greer says U.S. trade deficits with China is on track to be at least $50 billion smaller this year. U.S. Trade Representative Greer on a potential China pause says we will talk with the president. Bessent says we don't want to decouple with China. We want to de-risk with rare earths, chips, and medicines. And Greer says here to confirm the implementation of the London Agreement. Bessent says we expressed regret about China selling dual-use tech. US and China officially have agreed to extend a trade truce per BBC. Fitch Ratings says US corporate capex cycle aided by AI, energy demand, and policy incentives. This is massive, okay? With the big beautiful bill, it took capital depreciation in the first year of service from 40% to 100%. So basically, if you want to go out and upgrade your business, say whatever, a restaurant, right? Go out, buy new tables, chairs, air conditioning units. You want to go out and put in a new patio or rooftop thing, like whatever you want to do. You can write off 100% of that the first year. So there is a much bigger financial incentive to do some capital expenditure, some capital investing, okay? But that helps the chair company. That helps the tile company. That helps the HVAC company, right? There's a big trickle effect of when businesses start to invest more money. And that is something that is really underlooked that could fuel a lot of growth in the US economy. What I also feel like is overlooked is when rates come down, there's going to be more housing inventory. Yes, prices could come down a little bit. I'm not expecting any kind of real estate crash. But as rates come down, people are going to be able to sell their homes. And when they sell their homes, they're going to have a lot of equity that hits their bank account. I mean, that is something people have not been able to experience in quite a while, with some of the, lowest real estate transaction levels since the great financial crisis. Like, real estate has been dead for years. And imagine you bought a home a couple years ago. It's went up a couple $100,000. You can sell it, buy a new home for a reasonable price. Well, what do you think people are going to do with a couple $100,000 in their bank account? Go out and spend money and fuel this economy. Bessent says there was no discussion of Trump-Xi meeting in talks. Now, bond yields are actually declining about 8.5 basis points today on the move of, again, a US-China extended tariff pause, in my view, and getting ready for the Fed. So it's actually interesting that small caps are underperforming today and the Dow is underperforming, given rates are actually coming down so much. The VIX up 3%. It's kind of an unusual day. Greer says that tariffs going back up is always an option. Bessent says China does not acknowledge that it has a manufacturing surplus that is impacting the rest of the world. Greer says there was no agreement on export controls. Bessent on China trade talks says he expressed dissatisfaction with China buying 90% of Iranian oil. Bessent says if Trump does not approve tariff pause extension, tariffs on Chinese goods would boomerang back to April 2nd levels or another level that he chooses. Let's be real. Trump is going to extend the pause on China. That's going to happen. We're just waiting for that headline. And that, again, could be putting some pressure on markets. And I think Trump likes to see the markets take him serious, right? That actually kind of react when Trump has a decision to make. I think Trump looks at it like the markets respect, my decisions. They don't just assume that I'm going to do one thing. And today, I think that's partially why you're seeing pressure on stocks, is because people just never know, what Trump's going to do. But I think logically, he's going to give an extended pause on China tariffs to allow for negotiating room. You kill the art of the deal if you mid-negotiation put 150% tariffs back on China. It makes zero sense. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised the markets don't just see through that. But I would be very surprised if, again, Trump did not give an extended pause at some point in the next couple of hours. Bessent says the fentanyl area could have been more robust. Greer says we've seen improvements on magnets for U.S. businesses. Again, that has a lot to do with the China tariff negotiations. Greer says a 90-day extension is one option for Trump to approve. There's a lot of speculation of this 90-day extension that, again, could be coming in the next couple of hours. Bessent says after today's meeting, really the last 2 days, they understand China's agenda much better. Bessent says, we hope China's 5-year plan would include rebalancing, becoming more of a consumer economy versus just a manufacturing machine. In that case, the idea is America could sell more products in China because China is buying more products. Kind of like, we buy a lot of things from China. They want China to buy a lot of things from the U.S. Bessent says a pause and/or agreements with Chinese are subject to Trump's approval. U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent says, I will see Trump on China tariff pause tomorrow. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if that news comes in the next couple of hours. Bank of America said today they expect the U.S. to avoid a recession in 2025. And again, Bank of America did say in 2008, quote, the U.S. may flirt with recession, but aggressive Fed action should provide a soft landing. China's top trade negotiator Li says we will continue to maintain communication. U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent said it may take more tariffs to get China to change. And yeah, that's not seen as a great headline. China's top trade negotiator Li says both sides will continue to push forward an extension of pause of reciprocal tariffs as well as Chinese countermeasures. Li says that both sides had candid exchanges about economic and trade concerns. Here you've seen today at about noon, the headlines were coming out. US and China agree to extended trade truce, but again, we're just waiting for Trump to actually approve that. Loss in revenue from international travelers is expected to cost the U.S. economy $12.8 billion this year, according to the World Travel and Tourism Council. Mexico's President Sheinbaum says Mexico aims for a tariff agreement with the U.S. this week. U.S. July consumer confidence came in at 97.2. The estimate was 96.0, so that beat estimates. German economy minister said today the EU is currently negotiating from a position of weakness. We must change this. There was a lot of different headlines today, and let me kind of summarize what is moving stocks, because there's a really weird dichotomy happening today in this market where 10-year treasury yields are falling. That theoretically should actually boost risk on sectors like small caps, NASDAQ doing a little bit better today, but especially small caps. You have the VIX going up 3%. I think there's some uncertainty around whether Trump is going to actually grant the extended trade truce with China. I think he ultimately will, and I think that could come in the next couple of hours. I do think a large part of today's price action, though, has to do with the Fed meeting tomorrow. There's just a lot of different plausible paths the Fed could take tomorrow and a lot of different potential outcomes, and the markets are trying to price those in the best that they can. And markets have done well up until now. So there's a little bit of nervousness, but I do think the Fed will likely signal at least the willingness to cut rates in September. Markets are currently pricing in a September rate cut. Let's take a look at the probabilities today. So for tomorrow, there's a 3.2% chance of a rate cut and a 96.8% chance of a pause. We're not going to get a rate cut tomorrow, just for anyone that was wondering. Now, the odds of a rate cut September 17th actually fell a little bit today, fell from 61.7% to 61.3%, so down a little bit. And the odds of a continued pause through July at 36.7%. The odds of 2 rate cuts by September, either a rate cut tomorrow and then a rate cut in September, or a 50 basis point rate cut in September, sit at about 2%. So you're pretty firmly pricing in the start of additional rate cuts September 17th. I think that's what's really on the line tomorrow. If the Fed is not dovish enough, then you kind of unprice some of that. If the Fed is dovish, then you really confirm that the Fed is going to start cutting rates. And we'll see what path they take, because we're not expecting a rate cut October 29th, although the odds are kind of close. 32.2% chance of another cut October 29th, as well as a cut in September. A 48.8% chance of only one cut by October. December, you are pricing in 2 cuts total. So you're still pricing in 2 cuts by the end of this year, 1 in September and 1 in December. So let me know your thoughts on all of this down below in the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. If you guys want to come join the best trading community in the entire world as well, by far, check out that link down below in the description of this video. We're first to everything: quantum computing, semiconductors, energy. We will be first. That's my commitment. Obviously not a financial advisor, not financial advice. Don't be a jackass. Like, if you listen to what somebody says on the internet and blindly invest your money without doing your own due diligence, you're going to lose money. So contact a financial advisor if you are a jackass, if you don't understand what I'm saying here. With that said, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.